Hey there, John Morris here, johnmorrisonline.com. Welcome back to another episode of the John Morris Show. This one I'm going to be answering a question from Curious Truth over on YouTube. So he said, hey John, is it feasible to go from zero to successful freelancer without a traditional job in between? I've been told I should work towards getting a job first. Thank you. So we're going to get into that. And I mean, first off, I want to say that this is actually good advice. The people that are giving you this advice, they're telling you something that's smart and probably have your best interest at heart. They're not just sort of being know-it-alls. And the reason it is a lot of people, if you've never done paid work, if you've never done, web development work and got paid for it, a lot of people really don't fully understand what they're in for. I know I sure didn't fully grasp what I was in for when I got into all of this. And so the thing about a traditional job and going and working there first is it helps you to not only fine tune and master and hone your tech skills, but there's a whole other set of various sets of skills really that go around that when you work at a job, you learn those and you sort of learn them in a safe environment. You have a sort of safety net around you that if you falter or stumble or make a mistake in some way, you have a whole business, you have coworkers, you have a boss, you have all these things around you that can sort of provide a safety net for you. Whereas if you go straight into freelancing, every mistake you make is on you. Every stumble, every roadblock, it's all on you to sort of figure out and work through. And so some people are up for that, and that's the challenge they want, or at least they're willing to deal with it because the reason why they want to freelance is so important to them. Some people, don't quite fully realize that and maybe aren't ready for that, and so going the traditional job route first is a good way to go. So again, it's good advice, but I do want to talk to you. You absolutely can go straight into freelancing if you want. It's 100% feasible. I mean, I that's what I did. I know, my little brother actually started off freelancing first and then decided he wanted to go into a more traditional tech job. But I've known other people who have gone straight into freelancing. It happens all the time, probably happens every day on this planet. So it's definitely something feasible that you can do, but I'm going to outline 5 sort of skill sets that you need to know in order to do that. And it's not necessarily that you need to have them all mastered, but you need to realize that these are a part of the bigger picture that you're going to need to learn as you go through this. And so I want to outline what those 5 are. Maybe talk a little bit about my story as well. Now, of course, before I get into all that, I do want to encourage you to support the show over on Patreon. When you become a supporting listener, I keep it simple. I have one level. Support the show. It's $10 a month. And you'll not only be supporting me and helping me continue to do this for you, but also you're going to get access to a whole sort of trove of content and courses and so forth. So all of my courses, like my PHP 101 course, my object-oriented programming course, my WordPress plugin course, all of that is available when you become a supporting listener over on Patreon, plus access to all future courses. There's a ton of source code from YouTube videos that I have over in there, stuff that's not available anywhere else but on Patreon. Again, just a ton of perks and content that you're going to get access to that'll help you on your path. So again, you'll be helping me, but it's sort of a quick quid pro quo. I give you a ton of stuff to say thank you for supporting the show. So again, if you want to learn more about that, johnmorrisonline.com/Patreon. If you're watching on YouTube, there should be one of these sites here. There should be a little thing that pops out. If I did it right, that'll you can click on to get that link. But if you're listening on the audio version, johnmorrisonline.com/Patreon. I'd greatly appreciate that. All right, so with that out of the way, let's talk about some of these skills. So the first one is the obvious one, is your tech skills. Now, whatever you happen to be, getting into HTML, CSS, JavaScript, whatever it is, you need to master those tech skills. Again, going and doing this at a job can be really helpful because you'll have a boss, you'll have other coworkers, you have people that can sort of mentor you and help you learn that. But if you're going to go out on your own, the biggest thing that I always recommend here, and I sort of harp on this on the show, but it's absolutely 100% true. The people who do it just have a lot more success. It's a lot easier time for them. And so I keep harping on it because I think it's so important. And that is, when it comes to the tech skills as a freelancer, clients do not care how you get to the end result for the most part. They don't really care how you get to the end result. They don't really care what languages you use. They don't really care what frameworks you use. They don't really care if you use WordPress or not. What they care about is the end result. Does it do what I want it to do? Does it look the way I want it to look, etc. So the thing to do is understand that that's how clients think and focus on end results. So the example I always use is when I did a lot more client work in the past, I did membership sites. I didn't say I used PHP and I did, but what I built was an end product, a membership site. And so you got to figure that out for you, what you like building, what you're good at building, what there's a market for, all of that. And I have tons of episodes in the past where I've talked about this sort of thing. Just sort of search for that and you should find a whole slew of those. So tech skills, the important thing if you're going straight into freelancing, figure out that end product, specialize in that end product, make all your marketing towards that end product, get really good at delivering that one end product. It'll make that part of it go a heck of a lot easier. And it really limits the amount of skills you got to learn in order to get going. Because now you don't got to learn 1,000 random skills. You only have to learn the skills necessary to deliver that specific end result. All right, the second thing then is get work skills. So you might call this marketing, advertising, selling yourself. There's all sorts of different terms that people use, but this really is a skill. You need to get good at selling yourself, at getting work, whether that's you're going on a freelance site, whether it's you're going to build it off your own website. You should get used to the fact or comfortable with the fact that you're probably going to have to produce some sort of content like YouTube videos or a blog post or a podcast or something that is going to attract people to you, that's going to get people paying attention to you, help you build trust with them. And then when they want to hire somebody to do dev work, you'll be a natural person that they'll think of. So you got to get good at all of these get work skills. That's one of the hardest things, the biggest things people struggle with when they first go right into freelancing is, how do I go about getting work? So it's a whole set of skills that has nothing to do with the tech skills. It doesn't matter how good you are at the tech skills, you still have to learn the get work skills. So understand that's going to be a part of the picture. Another one is, especially for us developers, because we tend to be a little more introverted, but is working with other people skills. So being able to deal with people who may not be 100% rational in everything that they think, learning how to communicate in a way that's persuasive so you can convince clients of your ideas and ways of doing things, not just getting work, but actually convince them of, hey, this is the way we should do things, but also in a way that is sort of long-term beneficial for you, where you're not off-putting, you're not irritating people all the time, and people actually like working with you. So they'll give you future business, they'll send referrals your way, all that sort of thing. So that is a whole nother set of skills, sort of soft skills that you need to learn. The fourth is maybe the hardest or biggest one. I don't know. I probably have said that about another one, but this is the one for me that was probably the hardest, which was productivity and time management skills. This is where I say people really don't understand what they're in for. Like, the thing with freelancing is, if you want to take a day off, you can take a day off, and that's the benefit of it. It's also the downside because that becomes really, really easy to do. And next thing you know, it's been a week, you haven't done anything, and now your business and your income and all that is suffering as a result of it. And so learning how to be disciplined with your time. And sometimes it's not just being like the lazy side of things. Sometimes it's the other way, overworking yourself. I did this one year. I had a hard time saying no. I took about every client that threw a project my way, and I was just overworked for a whole year. And by the end of the year, I was completely burnt out. I wanted to burn my computer in effigy because I was so burnt out and frustrated. And so again, there's that part of it as well. But learning, productivity, time management skills. And I guess the fifth one, I sort of mixed it in with productivity and time management, but work-life balance. That's the fifth one. So I guess I sort of messed that up and mixed those in. But again, that's a huge one, that learning how to be disciplined with your time, but also learning not to overwork yourself and make your family hate you if you have a family, or find, 3 weeks later you haven't left the house and you're like feeling stir crazy and frustrated and you don't realize it 100% why. All that sort of thing. These are all individual skills that you're going to have to learn. And the reality of all this is that, it's not easy. Going through and working a job and getting some exposure to this stuff first will help. But even still, when you go from that into freelancing, it's not easy. It's 100% on you. And that's sort of a lot of pressure, but at the same time, it's also a lot of freedom. And so I would say that the biggest thing, most people really don't know what they're in for. And like I said, I sure didn't. But for me, it's been 1,000% worth it. So it's not easy, but if you're in it for the right reasons, it's 1,000% worth it. And the big thing is to always remember why you wanted to do it in the first place. For me, I'm crystal clear on that. I see the reasons why every day. It's 2 little boys that I want to homeschool, that I want to spend as much time as I can with, before I leave this planet, and teach them everything I know, and build that relationship and make sure that I'm there for them. That's what matters to me above all else. And so I'm very, very clear on that each and every day. So when I'm feeling tired or overworked or frustrated or burnt out or overwhelmed, I can look at those 2 boys and remember why I'm doing what I'm doing, and it helps me to get back on the saddle. So be crystal clear about why you're doing it in the first place, and make sure you're constantly reminding yourself of that. And that's what's going to push you through. And then with time, you'll develop sort of a flow. You'll develop a comfort zone. You'll sort of learn all these skills. You'll get them down, and it'll become just sort of how you operate, how your way of being. If you ever hear really successful people talk about, like, sometimes people will be like, how do you have this much productivity and output and you almost never sleep? And oftentimes they'll just say, it's just sort of how, it's just sort of how I operate now. I don't even really think about it. It's not really a choice. It's just the way my life is. And that's what'll happen. It'll just sort of naturally develop a flow. But at first, it's going to be difficult. You just have to constantly remind yourself why you're doing it. So that would be my advice if you're going to go straight into freelancing. 100% feasible. If you're in it for the right reasons, 100% worth it. But it's not always going to be easy, and you're going to have some things that you're going to have to work through. And if you're open to going through a job first, that can help you to develop some of those skills before you go straight into freelancing. Now, of course, when you do get into freelancing, like I said, one of the big skills you got to learn is the get work skills. And one of the things that a lot of people will do is head on over to freelance sites like Upwork, which is a smart thing to do. Upwork is the number 1 freelancing platform in the world. But like anything, if you haven't developed the skills to get work on Upwork specifically, then you can struggle. And you'll, a lot of people, that's what happens, is they don't necessarily understand exactly how it works, don't necessarily understand the skills that they got to learn. And so they go over there thinking that this is sort of their way out. This is where they're going to get all their work, all that sort of thing, and find that maybe they struggle a little bit more than they thought they would. And so I created my Upwork 101 course to help with that, to show you the things that I learned from freelancing on. First it was Elance, then it was Elance Odesk, now it's Upwork, that whole sort of continuum. The things that I learned that helped me to start freelancing, and I started off struggling just like everybody else, learned a few skills, and then had some pretty good success, and then was able to take that and move off of Upwork and sort of do my own client work from my own website. But again, show you those skills. The big one, I talk about this a lot, is the idea of relevance over rank, and exactly what that means on Upwork and how you can use that to your advantage when you first get started. So anyway, if you want to learn those skills when it comes to Upwork specifically, you can head on over to upwork101.com and check out my Upwork 101 course that will teach you these skills, exactly how to build your profile in a way that helps you rank higher on Upwork, helps you be more appealing to clients, and helps you master some of those get work skills. Again, that's upwork101.com. freelancer.com. As a regular listener of the show, you can use the coupon code JMO at checkout for 20% off anything in the store, including that Upwork 101 course. All right, that'll do it for the episode. If you liked it, be sure to hit the like button. I'd really appreciate that. Also, subscribe if you haven't. Speaking of subscribe, if you want all the links to subscribe on Android, iTunes, TuneIn, plus all the past episodes, you can head on over to johnmorrisshow.com for all of that. And finally, if you'll rate and review the podcast over on iTunes, I would greatly appreciate that. Help spread the show. Would be doing me a big favor. I will also give you Module 1 of my PHP 101 course for free if you leave me an honest review on iTunes. So all the instructions on how to get that module, how to leave the review, all that sort of thing, you can find at johnmorrisshow.com. Just click on the Start Here link at the top. All right. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next time.